One of my favorite pastimes is reading manga, which should come as no surprise to anyone who has visited my channel. I've previously made a video discussing the importance of a panel, and what makes a manga panel so compelling and simply great. And while I included an abundance of different mangas and examples in said video, I never got to discuss my favorites. Therefore, this video is going to do just that. I'll be explaining a plethora of different manga that I find incredible, and the panels that go with it. And by the very end, I'll even give you my favorite panel of all time. What I find valuable in a panel comes down to two key elements: story impact and artistic direction. In my previous video, I used these two distinctions as the basis for what I consider to be good in paneling. If a panel gives us readers a satisfying or intense emotion regarding the story, it usually will be pretty good. The same goes for art. There are plenty of amazing panels that may not have significant story drives. They may just be there to show off the magical or fantastical world that the mangaka has created. But even those panels hold to being astonishing in their own right. While some of my favorites may have a few other elements that make them great, these are the two big ones. So, what better manga to start this video than with JoJo's Bizarre Adventure? While being beloved for its amazing anime adaptation, unique fights, and all-around weird nature, I feel that Araki doesn't get credited enough for his artistic talent. Steel Ball Run is where we find my favorite JoJo panels. Tusk Act 4's reveal and Valentine's surprise attack with D4C are standouts from the fights of the part. Gyro's Let's Have a Toast scene is another standout. As anyone who has read Steel Ball Run would know, this panel comes at a time when our heroes are at their lowest. Without giving away too many spoilers, Johnny is shocked at Gyro's gratitude for what little they have, with Johnny retorting that they've lost everything. A powerful scene, no doubt. Looking furthermore at JoJo panels takes us to JoJolion, with my favorite panel of the part being Josuke's Soft and Wet pointing directly at Wonder of You. This panel comes at the peak of the part's fight, and with so much going on in the panel, no words are even needed to express the intensity of the fight. The next manga that holds many of my favorites is Fire Punch. Mangaka Tatsuki Fujimoto is undoubtedly controversial, but his shift of rapid storytelling and off-the-wall concepts makes his work iconic. With Fire Punch being my favorite work of his, and easily his most balls-to-the-wall story, there's plenty of incredible panels. Some of these would be the jump to Togata's fight early on in the train. With the fight being hidden from us, jumping from a blacked-out panel to this was so exciting to read, as it allows us to imagine the crazy shit that went down on this train. Speaking of fights, the panel of Agni using his coveted Fire Punch attack against Daida in the Battle of Behemdorg is extremely captivating. However, my favorite panels of Fire Punch are the quieter ones. The panels where we see the toll of the world on Agni, with him first delving into the pit of anger that would be his Fire Punch persona, followed by the painstaking face of delusion, to ending it with acceptance and love. Fujimoto is incredible at displaying facial features and the slight adjustments that each emotion details. Similarly to Fire Punch, I thought I'd speak on Chainsaw Man for a moment. Chainsaw Man is somehow more grounded in its story than Fire Punch, but it still is full of wondrous panels. My favorites come from the Hell and Gun Devil arcs, respectively. The introduction of the Darkness Devil being led in by the split astronauts has an almost cosmic horror feel to it. Likewise, the Gun Devil's attack is executed perfectly through Fujimoto's paneling. Never in a manga have I seen the route of paneling used to detail the hundreds of deaths of an attack happening instantaneously. While on the topic of shonen manga, Hunter x Hunter has some standouts that would make it into my favorites. While in a previous video I made, it may have sounded like I was putting Hunter x Hunter down, but that's not the case at all. While I don't think Togashi's art is consistent throughout the series, he easily has created some panels that stick with me. I've always found Togashi extremely good at detailing the blank stare. His ability to elicit different responses from the blank stare of a character, whether it's rage, vengeance, despair, or loss, has always been a focal point for me. To pick a single favorite though, would be Kurapika's death stare after the Yorknew auction. How Kurapika's eyes are hidden from the start, only to reveal the intense blood-red glow and trauma he feels, holding the eyes of his fallen clan. Moving on to the seinen genre, the first series full of favorites of mine is from Record of Ragnarok. A simple story at its core, that is, the gods of various religions fighting against the strongest humans of Earth. However, This simple tournament style of storytelling allows for a creative process of fighters. Such standouts in the series would be Adam, the first human, versus Zeus, or Jack the Ripper versus Heracles, or finally, Sasaki Kojiro versus Poseidon. What I love so much about this story is the dichotomy between the two opponents, and it's shown best in the Adam and Zeus fight, which also has my favorite panels of said series. The full-page spread of Adam and Zeus throwing and trading blows with each other is a sight to see. Pair this with Adam's declaration of fighting simply because he is a father, and we're being built up upon an extremely climactic battle. My absolute favorite panel of this series, though, is after Adam has been blinded by Zeus's blood, and after taking a severe beating, he grabs his enemy by the hair and screams for an all-out brawl. I won't spoil how this fight ends, but this panel comes at the very peak of the fight and left me utterly shocked when it was all over. This series is full of greats though, with other standouts such as Kojiro's prediction of hundreds of deaths, Jack's demented smile, or Thorn Lulu's final attack. The next series that holds plenty of my favorites is Gantz. I'm a huge fan of Gantz. I find it to be a series that not many people talk about, despite just how many products exist of it. Gantz stands out to me with its monster designs, and therefore is usually what I find my favorite panels to be. Specifically, the ones I love are Kurono activating his suit for the first time, the reveal of the bird boss alien, and the absolute devastation that the Italian mission brings. Oh, and of course, Kurono using his suit to slam dunk a basketball. That just goes hard as hell. My ultimate favorite of the series, though, is Kato's encounter with the Osaka alien. If you've seen my Gantz ranking video, you know that I praise this panel highly, and I still do. I love this panel so much because it asks the question that the readers have been waiting on for so long. I won't spoil it, but it's a pinnacle moment of the series, undoubtedly. Gantz is a series I could talk about all day, but another one I could do the same with is Goodnight Punpun. Goodnight Punpun is my second favorite manga series, and its importance to me cannot be understated. This story is so heart-wrenching, important, and powerful, and it's one that I would advise with caution if you're looking to pick up. However, in the same manner, I think it's one that everyone should read if they are able. The bleak and yet realistically dull world that Inio Asano has created is all too familiar to anyone who has felt lost or stuck in the world they inhabit. However, the world is also beautiful as well. A favorite panel of mine is the shooting stars that all of Punpun and his friends witnessed as children. Another could be the mural of the stars, as Punpun is left to his own thoughts. These panels emphasize the beauty, of course, but on the contrary, there is just as much that shows the disgust of the world, and more specifically, how our protagonist, Punpun, sees it. Without going too in-depth and revealing spoilers, Punpun's form and body shifts throughout the story, usually to match the emotions and trauma he must adapt to. Therefore, it is these panels, such as Punpun wandering through a dark hall, or an extreme close-up of a single eye from Punpun's irregularly large, narrow black head, that hits us like a truck. And while these panels can be downright horrifying, there's also plenty that just tear at your heart. The letter Punpun receives from his mother, detailing the truth about his father, is one that personally got to me. Another is the entire sequence of Punpun's uncle Yuichi and his near downward spiral by the train tracks. These panels are extremely powerful, not just because they're drawn well and presented properly, but because they mimic the real-life struggles that many in this world have either survived or, unfortunately, succumbed to. To leave Punpun on a more happier note though, my favorite panel in the entire series is the very end. After Punpun has been released from the hospital and has rejoined his friends, he runs into his old friend Harumi. Punpun's form is now entirely human at this point, as he's matured and learned throughout his life to trust in living. As Harumi leaves the group to continue on his life, he waves to Punpun and the rest of his friends. It's here though where we get a panel of Punpun in his original bird form, waving back, with tears running down his face. If you've never read Punpun, you may not understand without context as to why this is so powerful, but being honest, it nearly brought me to tears. It serves as a powerful conclusion to the story. With enough talk on Punpun, I want to move on to my favorite manga, and further so, my favorite panel. However, I thought I would go over a few other favorites real quickly from various manga I've yet to mention. Vagabond is full of incredible panels, with my favorite probably being Musashi's sword training incorporating water practice. From Monster, I love the panel of Tenma and Johan's final standoff at the end of the manga. One Punch Man is a manga where I could just about pick any panel and it would be justified, but I love Saitama's lone walk away from Boros after their fight, along with the introduction of God in the series. JJK does have some nice paneling, with a few favorites from me, with my favorite probably having to be Yuji's walk towards Sukuna after being slashed. That, and how could I forget the I'm you and nah I'd win panels. Truly peak writing. And while I do have my issues with Attack on Titan, it does have some seriously iconic panels. My favorites being the coveted Freedom panel, along with Aaron's announcement of the rumbling and our first look at the founding Titan face. However, with all those aside, this video would be incomplete without talking about Berserk. Berserk has stood the test of time as my favorite manga series, and downright favorite series altogether. I know I ramble about Berserk a lot, but that should be apparent in all the videos I've made about it. As I always say, Berserk needs no introduction, but for those who are new to manga and anime, it's a story that details the life of a cursed former mercenary named Guts, and his struggle to balance a quest for revenge between one of love. While Berserk is known for its deep themes, traumatic instances, and high-paced fights, it very well may be best known for its artwork. Mangaka Kentaro Miura dedicated his life to his creation, and even after his passing, his apprentices and friends work hard to continue and finish the dream Miura had set up. It would be once again very easy to pick just about any panel from Berserk to be my favorite, and there is quite a bit, so I'll go through some of mine. First, at the end of the Black Swordsman arc, we get the reveal of Guts crying. A shocking contrast to the character we have been following so far, and a reveal that tells us that this character, despite the face he puts on, harbors deep emotion, which I found to be an excellent way to hook readers in. There are an extreme amount of incredible panels starting with the Golden Age arc, but my favorite is easily Guts and Griffith's standoff at the Snowy Mountain. I love this panel so much because, without having to speak any words, we are thoroughly informed on the dichotomy of the two. Further details, such as the tree between them and the sun glistening off of Guts' sword, are all little touches that make it so eye-catching. The Golden Age does an incredible job at detailing battles and all-out war with its paneling, and it would be the Conviction arc that introduces us to the full-on dark side of the world. The Lost Children mini arc is full of some of my favorites, including Guts biting through Rosine's stinger, his depiction as a rabid beast that is no longer human, and his interactions with Jill. Furthermore, the Millennium Falcon arc gives us more of the quiet moments of the story. I'm quite fond of panels such as Guts standing alone on the docks, picking up Shirk's hat, and especially watching Casca at the beach. These quiet moments are so powerful to me because they remind us that these people, despite everything they've gone through, are still human. They carry with them the burdens and struggles that so many should never have to endure. With these quiet moments, we're given just a glimpse into a more beautiful world. The world of manga and paneling is a serious art form, and one that cannot be understated. The impact of manga, especially in the West, has made it clear that it is a medium that an abundance of people are interested in. Even with this video, I'm unable to talk about every panel I love, as when it comes to manga, I enjoy so much of it. However, there is one last thing to talk about. That is my number one panel. It's extremely hard to pick what a single favorite would be, but this panel is one that has stuck with me ever since I read it. Guts takes Jill under his cloak and proclaims that there is no paradise for her to escape to. This panel instilled such a reaction in me when I first read it. With context, after having read and witnessed not only everything Guts has gone through, but also Jill, this hits like a truck. While this panel, on the surface, may seem depressing, it actually gives a bit of hope when looking at it from a new perspective. Guts is not only telling Jill, but us readers as well, that while there may be no perfect destination for us to run off and hide to, we can be the change in our lives. How we continue to live despite the struggles we are given. You can be the change you want to see and the reason you keep living. Thank you to all those who stuck around and watched through this to the end. It means a lot to me. I know I didn't cover nearly enough of all the manga panels, but these were just my favorites. Let me know in the comments what you think of the panels I picked, and what your number one favorite is, as well as any ideas you want to see me make for videos in the future. Thank you so much again, and I'll see you around.